What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Pick Six channel. And today, I will be giving just a little quick reaction, or I don't even know if it's going to be quick, but just a reaction on the Steelers season coming to an end. The 2023-2024 Pittsburgh Steelers season is over. How do I feel about it? Look. One of the takeaways was they didn't get blown out, okay? Because this team looked very similar to the 2021 team, okay? And I was nervous that the same thing was going to happen, and it really looked like it was, okay? The Steelers were making a lot of mistakes in that first half. Up until that blocked field goal, they're making a lot of mistakes, turn the ball over, and I mean, really, the Bills' offense was doing whatever they wanted to on that Steeler defense. They were losing in every phase of the game, and they were up 21-0 at some point. Then that blocked field goal. It didn't necessarily change the momentum, but it just gave some sort of hope. Okay? And the Steelers scored a touchdown, gave you some hope going into halftime. And look, man, that second half, I think the Steelers played better than the Bills in the second half. Okay? I think they played better ball, man. I really did. I mean, I guess on the scoreboard, it's still 10-10 a piece, I guess. But, I mean, I think the Steelers did all right in that second half. It was really the first half. The first half is what ended it all for the Steelers. Okay? And look, it was pretty interesting at some point. They were only down by 7. They really were. But, I mean, some costly penalties, things of that nature. And it wound up costing the Steelers the game, man. And the Steelers, at least on offense, have a fairly young squad still. I mean, the offensive line is fairly young. The receiving core is pretty young. And Mason Rudolph, that was his first career playoff game. Even though he's, 28? That was still his first playoff game, man. And I don't think he did too bad. I mean, that turnover in the end zone, that was not good, clearly. I mean, if they would have gotten that, if they would have got a touchdown off of that drive, might be looking at a different game here. But that was very costly. I felt like they should have just continued to run the ball in that situation, but they chose to throw the ball, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. But yeah, man, I don't feel a certain type of way. I mean, going into this one, it was kind of, you got the feeling that the Steelers weren't going to win. I mean, yeah, there was hope, but at the end of the day, Buffalo is just one of those teams, man, and I truly believe they'll get past Kansas City, and it's going to be an interesting one whether they have to play Houston or Baltimore, but they're definitely one of those teams, and they definitely caught stride at the right time. Okay, so I'm really not upset about it. As far as Mike Tomlin and his future with the Steelers, yeah, I would like him back on the. I hope he comes back next season, because I know there's some sort of speculation on whether or not he'll come back. I hope he comes back. Okay. The job he was able to do within those last 3 games, I think it's good enough to bring him back, or even this game. Look, it's not like he coached a bad game or anything like that. It was really more of maybe a bit of lack of experience or something of that nature. I don't really know, but there was just very costly turnovers, penalties, things like that. Just I don't want to put it on Tomlin. Like it's kind of, I don't know. I don't think they were underprepared. I just think that there was just costly mistakes. Well, maybe there were. I don't know. I hope you get the point. So at the end of the day, man, I'm looking forward to next year. I would like to think they'll be better next year. I mean, there's really not much else to change. I mean, you got the receiving core. I don't know if you want to keep Deontay. I mean, you could try to trade him or whatever, but really one of the things that needs to be fixed is the O-line and maybe get a corner for to accommodate Joey Porter Jr. or something like that. There's not much else to do. It's not like you need to go into a complete rebuild mode because there's definitely pieces there that could get you to the promised land. Okay, Najee Harris, I expect them to keep him for next season. I'm hoping they do. If they don't, I mean, Warren's still pretty solid, but I'd prefer them to keep Najee. Okay. Wide receivers, I mean, they're solid. You got Deontay, you got Pickens, Calvin Austin. There's definitely playmakers on the offense, but the offensive line, I mean, it's still kind of suspect. They did play good those last 3 games, but then they played a good Bills team, and they kind of struggled a little bit. They did struggle. And of course, the offensive coordinator. Okay. They did all this without a legitimate offensive coordinator. I mean, they still technically had to call Matt Canada plays. They were still just practically reading off his play sheet still. Because, I mean, they made the change way too late in the season. And, I mean, there's really not much you could do as far as changing offensive coordinators. I mean, I get the Bills have a different offensive coordinator, but, I mean, I don't know. I would like to think the Bills' offensive coordinator and their play calling was better than Matt Canada's offensive coordinating and Matt Canada's offensive play calling. I would like to think that. Okay? So, they need to get a legitimate offensive coordinator this offseason. I mean, there's guys like Byron Leftwich, which I would like them to bring in Byron Leftwich or something like that. But, I mean, that's one of the few things that are stopping them. And maybe a new O-line coach, I don't know. But this team does have promise. It does have hope. And if it's the same thing next year, then there's a problem. Okay, but I'm not going to jump into conclusions here yet. I mean, we'll see next season. I mean, it should be interesting. And hopefully they're able to make some good moves. The quarterback position, that's a little suspect too. It is. I did say if Mason Rudolph did have a good enough game, even if the Steelers didn't win, that's probably going to be your QB1. And he didn't have that bad of a game. He actually played pretty well. Outside of that interception in the end zone, which was pretty costly. But other than that, he actually played pretty solid, man. Am I saying that he's for sure quarterback 1 for the Steelers next season? No, I'm not. And I'm not buying Kenny Pickett either. I'll say this. If there's a chance to get a Justin Fields or maybe even a Russell Wilson, personally, for me, I would try to get Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. But if they do something like that, I would encourage it. Because, like I said, the quarterback room is a little suspect. It really is. And I want to believe in Kenny Pickett. I want to believe in Mason Rudolph too. But it's not like a for sure thing. I mean, we're going off of 3 games or 4 games from Mason Rudolph. He did play well, okay? He did. But, I mean, are we really convinced off of 4 games? And then Kenny Pickett, I mean, his best game was when they scored 16 points. At least for the season, was when they scored 16 points against the Bengals. So, I mean, is that really that eye-catching? Like, you get what I'm coming from here? So, the quarterback position is a little suspect. If I had to pick between Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, I'm going to go Mason Rudolph. I really am. I mean, he's proven himself. Now he has that postseason experience. So, I mean, I would go Mason Rudolph over Kenny Pickett, in my personal opinion. Okay? But just hopefully they make the right moves this offseason. If they draft the quarterback, that's an option as well. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. I mean, you're going to have to give up a lot more to do that. So, I don't know if they're willing to do that. But we'll just see. I mean, the season just ended, so we'll see where they decide to go. But season's over. A lot of people didn't expect the Steelers to make the playoffs, including myself. So, I mean, can't complain too much. And the fact that they actually put up a decent fight against if we're going off just straight seeding, against the second best team in the AFC, I mean, there's not really much to complain about. It was a winnable game, though. It really was. But, I mean, it is what it is. So, other than that, guys, that's kind of how I feel, a bit of my reaction to the season. I'm not too upset about it. Am I bummed out? Of course. You know, I still haven't seen the Steelers win a Super Bowl yet. But I don't think we're too far off from that. Okay? I truly believe that this team could turn it around and be a legitimate contender. There's just still some moves that you need to make to be a legitimate contender. Okay? Because right now, they were just contenders. But you make a couple moves, and they're Super Bowl contenders. See what I did there? But, yeah, man. Pick 6 will probably be dropping the video either Thursday or Friday. We'll just kind of see how that goes. Yeah, man, it was a pretty crazy wild card week. So maybe I'll make another video on that tomorrow or something like that. We'll just see. We'll see where the week takes us. But other than that, guys, Pick 6, we out.